Have you ever met a man who seems completely fine on the outside? Stable, composed, self-sufficient? But when you try to get close, there's always a wall you can't quite see through? He's present, but never fully there. Open, but never truly vulnerable. Most people assume something happened to him. A breakup, a betrayal, something sharp and dramatic. But the truth is quieter than that. What changed him was time. Specifically, years spent completely alone. Because when a man lives without deep connection for long enough, something fundamental shifts inside him. Not suddenly, not violently, but slowly and permanently, the way cold reshapes iron. And by the time most people meet him, they are not meeting a lonely man at all. They are meeting the man that loneliness built. Us. First shift, he stops, depending on anyone. In the early stages of solitude, the absence is painful. He reaches for his phone and realizes there's no one to call. He has a good day and has no one to tell. He sits with problems that feel too heavy to carry alone and carries them anyway. But eventually, and this is the part most people miss, the pain becomes routine, and routine becomes identity. He starts handling everything internally. When he is overwhelmed, he breathes through it alone. When he is afraid, he talks himself out of it. When he needs comfort, he creates it from discipline instead of connection. Over months and years, he builds an entire emotional architecture that requires no one else to function. Psychologists describe this as compulsive self-reliance. A pattern where independence stops being a choice and becomes the only way a person knows how to exist. He grows strong, focused, and emotionally controlled. But here is the cost buried underneath that strength. He stops believing that leaning on someone is safe. And when a person finally enters his life who genuinely wants to hold him, he does not know how to be held. Second shift, trust becomes something he earns, not something he gives. A man who has spent years alone does not stop believing in people. What he stops believing in is continuity. He has watched close things become distant. He has felt warmth fade without explanation. He has held onto hope quietly and watched it disappear anyway. So he adapts. He becomes careful. He observes behavior over long periods before drawing conclusions. He measures what people do, not what they say. He does not invest emotionally until he sees evidence that investment is worth the risk. Researchers call this earned trust, a psychological response to repeated relational disappointment where the brain reclassifies attachment as a threat before reclassifying it as a possibility. From the outside, this can look like emotional unavailability or disinterest. But inside him, there is an entire conversation happening that you never hear. A quiet interrogation of every interaction. Will this last? Is this real? How much of myself is safe to show here? He is not cold, he is cautious. And there is a profound difference between the two. Third shift, his mind becomes a machine that never stops running. Long-term solitude has a neurological effect on how a man processes the world. Without regular emotional input from another person, the brain begins generating its own interpretations of every interaction. He reads too much into small things. He overanalyzes pauses in conversation. He mentally rehearses outcomes before allowing himself to feel anything at all. This is not anxiety in the conventional sense. It is a mind that was trained by years of isolation to expect loss and therefore prepares for it constantly. An unanswered message becomes evidence of a pattern. A shift in someone's energy becomes a signal he decodes for hours. But this same mental depth also sharpens him in ways most people never develop. He begins to understand himself with unusual clarity. He knows exactly what drains him. He can identify the difference between real connection and convenient closeness. He no longer confuses intensity with meaning or attention with affection. His emotional radar becomes precise because it had years of silence to calibrate itself in. A fourth shift, the way he loves changes completely. The longer a man goes without a relationship, the more deliberate his approach to love becomes. He does not fall anymore. He chooses. He does not pursue out of loneliness or impulse. He moves towards someone only when something deeper than attraction tells him it is worth the risk. This is where his most painful paradox lives. He wants love, perhaps more genuinely than most men, because he knows exactly what its absence costs. But he also fears the vulnerability that love requires, because vulnerability means disassembling the self-reliance that kept him stable for years. So he lives in a tension between wanting closeness and protecting the version of himself that survived without it. What most people never understand is this. That tension, that guarding, that careful and deliberate distance, it was never the end result. It was the training ground. Every year he spent navigating life alone taught him something that cannot be taught any other way. He learned to sit with discomfort without running. He learned what he actually values, not what he was conditioned to want. He learned the difference between needing someone and choosing someone. And that distinction changes everything about how he loves when he finally does. A man rebuilt by loneliness does not love carelessly. He does not love out of habit or fear of being alone or because someone was simply available. He loves consciously, completely. and only when he is certain it is real. He stopped giving love easily a long time ago, not because it left him, but because years of solitude quietly taught him exactly what it is worth.